The global political economy is shaped by important economic institutions which have played an important role in the regulations of international political economy. The role of these institutions is often seen as controversial. Why? Because the owners of these global institutions are the ones trying to implement neoliberal ideas through the imposition of forms of economic and political restructuring. Some critics state that these institutions represent a major impediment to autonomous development in third world countries, although they get loans and development funds from them. To analyze the roots of this controversial issue, we should focus on the establishment of the core international economic institutions, which was the Bretton Woods Conference held in 1944. As a result of this conference, the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank were established after negotiations between the Allied powers, with the main objective to set a stable basis that could guarantee a liberal world economic order after the war. The result was the collapse of international economic cooperation and the hegemony and dominance of American leadership over the post-Second World War economic order. But in the late 1960s, this American hegemony broke down and European economies gained control by taking advantage of the structural trade deficit of the US. Therefore, the US capacity to cover the global monetary order declined, leading to a devaluation of the dollar. The US devaluated the dollar's gold exchange by 10% and also suspended the dollar-gold convertibility. The system of the US hegemony was debilitated also because of the collapse of the state socialism in the Soviet bloc. Considering the Bretton Woods system, it established three main ideas. The first one is the currency stability, in which it was created the basis for an stable expansion of international trade based on the dollar exchange standard, and also with the support of the hegemony of the United States. It was also established strict controls on international currency transactions, with the purpose of reinforce the dollar's role as the key medium of exchange for international trade. The second one is the credit and financial institutions, which were credit mechanisms operating through the International Monetary Fund aimed to help and finance, in short term, those countries that suffered deficit in its balance of payments. These institutions were created to demonstrate the capacity and the hegemony of the United States, and also to spread the capitalism through showing its strength and power. The World Bank was created in order to assist weaker countries to overcome world destruction and to promote uneven development. But at the end, third world countries didn't receive so much in terms of developmental assistance. The third one is the promotion of free international trade and investment. Well, in this case, the US considered free trade as a source of economic growth, so it imposed penalties for non-conforming countries. Third world countries opposed to this measure as they gave priority to full employment and domestic development. Finally, this measure was implemented in the World Trade Organization after establishing rules designed to encourage non-discrimination between countries and the progressive reduction of tariffs. This has been seen as the institution of global neoliberalism, because of its will to impose enforceable agreements on free trade among its members. But let's make it clear. We have to make a difference between the purpose and the nature of the Bretton Woods institutions. The nature was to create a set of financial institutions designed to help, through funds, those countries with deficit and to ensure sustainable and a balanced global expansion. In the post-war decades, its role was very limited, and the reality is that an imperialist US created the International Monetary Fund in order to maintain its hegemony and expansion of the system, and also to retain control over the other countries. That's why the EMF became the key source of controversy. Third world countries suffered exploitation and the unequal exchange from imperialist powers. The exclusion of these countries from the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank has led to a failure of trade and the continuance of third world underdevelopment. However, the United Nations has a set of economic institutions that want to promote third world industrialization by using tools such as trade protectionism mechanisms or free access to developed world markets, among others. The original roles for the International Monetary Fund and World Bank became superfluous. From 1970s, they experienced a change in their nature and as a consequence, both turned focused on third world countries in order to apply economic programs of economic reforms of the Washington Consensus. The objective was to apply structural neoliberal adjustments. Newly industrialized countries became highly successful in achieving industrialization thanks to the policies applied from the US. As a result, the superpower that wanted to maintain its hegemony imposed its neoliberal solutions through promoting competitiveness and market-led growth. The World Trade Organization represented the main international tool from the main powers to consolidate free international trade and therefore international economic cooperation. This organization fostered anti-development through unfair competition on developing economies. The neoliberal system of global economic governance lost influence after the 2007 crisis. The importance of the BRICS and new emerging countries has led to a change in global economic governance and neoliberal hegemony. Controversially, new institutions have flourished such as G20 with the World Trade Organization support out of the old ideas from the neoliberal and the pro-market ideology, seeking to promote balanced global growth. Moreover, the IMF has defined its role into global by distancing itself from neoliberalism. To sum up, it's important to stress that the reform agenda has addressed changes to the IMF's governing structure and voting procedures.